Hello, my name is Jeremy Johnson, and I'm the President and CEO of the Historical Society of Palm Beach County. On behalf of our Board of Governors, professional team, and many dedicated volunteers, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Richard and Pat Johnson Palm Beach County History Museum. Since 1937, the Historical Society has been collecting, preserving, and making accessible the artifacts and ephemera that tell the rich history and cultural heritage of this amazing place. Most recently, the school district of Palm Beach County has designated this museum as a Holocaust education site. And it is with great respect and admiration the Society presents Stories of Rescue, an exhibition created by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C., and expanded upon by the Historical Society of Palm Beach County. Stories of Rescue highlights ordinary people who chose to intervene, rescue, and defy Nazi ideology to demonstrate the power of individuals to make a difference in our world. Those who choose to act despite risk inspire society to counter indifference with vigilance and apathy with action. I invite you to experience Stories of Rescue, and thank you for visiting the Richard and Pat Johnson Palm Beach County History Museum.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, love.
I really appreciate you coming down to sit down here with me, and so that I can ask you some questions so you can share some of the knowledge you've bestowed upon me to the rest of the world.
I'm really lucky that I can do this with you and with your fellow students.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family before World War II?
I'm going to talk a little bit about my dad. He was born in the 1920s in Poland. He was Jewish. He was an orphan at a very early age. He never knew his dad. His mom died when he was 4. So he was raised by his grandma and by his aunts. They were all very poor. They fled Poland to go and live in another European country called Belgium in hope of a better future. When he was 12, he had to quit school because they couldn't afford it. At age 15, he worked in the coal mines. My mom also came from Poland with her family to Belgium because there were massacres of Jews going on in Poland. And when they arrived in Belgium before World War II, they set up a little shop of fruits and vegetables.
How did your parents survive during the war?
During the war, they actually got married very early into the war, but they had to flee as soon as they got married. About a year later, they had a baby, my brother Robert, and for 4 years, they had to hide because they were Jewish, from village to village, from mountain to mountain. Sometimes they had to hide in the sewers. Most of the time, they had to sleep with their clothes on because they were always afraid they would be caught by the Nazi police and being sent to deportation. And whenever they could along the way, they helped the resistance all along.
Can you describe your father's rescue operation?
At some point, my family was at the French-Swiss border. Switzerland is another small European country which was neutral at the time, which meant that they would take in children as refugees occasionally, not all the time. So my dad with a few friends would go out at night and take small groups of Jewish children, 10 to 15, and get them at night through the border, group after group. And so they saved about 250 lives, children's lives. Now, he was not the one who started that. It was a young woman, Mila. Mila was 19 when she started this whole rescue operation, but she got caught and she was sent in deportation to Germany, and she died in a camp there.
Why did some people rescue Jews while others didn't?
Well, you know, although 6 million Jewish people were massacred in all these countries that the Germans invaded. 1 million survived, and they only survived because all along the way there were always people who helped, a little food, shelter, something. And now in the exhibition at the History Museum, there is a series of rescue posters, and you'll see that some of these rescuers were quite young. For example, young Refik, who was Albanian, Muslim Albanian, who saved a Jewish family, or Marion, who was Dutch, and she was a children's caretaker, and she saved 150 lives. So the rescuers came from all walks of life, young, old, all kind of religions, all kind of countries. So why did some do it and some didn't? From talking to some of these rescuers, who just very rarely talked about it, they certainly never bragged about it, but the sense I got is that they were mostly about doing the right thing, They had a strong sense of what is right and what is wrong. And in a way, it's like what happens in your school. If you see bullying, you see something, you do something. It's pretty much the same thing. Some people will do something, others won't. But even if we're not heroes, like some of these rescuers, we can all do something.
How did you hear about the rescue story your father was involved in?
Well, very strangely, only 15 years ago, by a researcher. Her name is Nan Liefenfeld, and she's now a friend, and she had heard about these stories from the children that were rescued when they had grown up, and so that's how she found our family. And she was writing a book about this whole thing. She published that book. And so when she found us, my dad already passed away, but my mom, she was very old, but she still remembered every single detail, how they put the groups together, which people were involved, how they do it. So she remembered absolutely everything.
What happened at the end of the war?
At the end of the war, my parents went back to Belgium, and then they realized that, most of their friends had disappeared. My mom's father was no longer there. My dad's grandmother was no longer there. All the aunts had disappeared. And for a year or two, they were kind of searching lists that were published of a few people that came back. But then they had to realize after a year or two that actually they were never going to come back, that, they had been murdered at Auschwitz, and they had to kind of get used to that idea.